Just as far as visiting Paisley Park in general, because our trip was, Thursday we did we did First Avenue, and then Friday was about Mall of America, pretty much. Saturday was our tattoo day, kind of our, trying to, hit up some other spots that were there, kind of our food. We went up to the Rooftop bar, I guess that night too. I can't remember if that was Friday night or Saturday night. And then just hitting some of the other places to eat, Brits Pub, some of those other places. And then Sunday was Paisley. So we kind of worked our way up to that.
What was the takeaway that you want people to get out of this?
So I have two takeaways because there's two parts to this trip. Really three. The first one being that Minneapolis on its own is not what you think. It is it's a city that is vibrant with not only music but just economy wise. So many things to do, so many places to go. I mean, we didn't even talk about, the skywalks were incredible from what we saw, because of course, where we were interconnected, and most of downtown is connected by skywalks because, as you know, Minnesota is bitterly cold. It's a city on its own within the skywalks. Not to mention Mall of America as well. We did manage to go there on Friday, and it was it has an amusement park in the middle of it. I had forgotten that part. Or Minnesota on its own, the city of Minnesota, we did not go to St. Paul, but just downtown, which is where we primarily were, it's just so rich with culture and music and people. So definitely that. Number two for me was the fact that I went with my friends from, 30 years, friendship. It's one of those friendships that if we don't speak, we pick up where we left off. And I'm so fortunate to have those types of relationships. Ergo, you and I, Paul, being high school friends, we've just as long, we've been friends, but, just being able to share that experience with your friends. If you have not done that in your life and you call these people your friends and who they are, take a trip with them, do something, that's meaningful for, it doesn't have to be Minnesota, right? Or Paisley Park, but just do that. So that was the other part of it. The third part was, obviously Prince and how much his music meant to me in some very difficult times in my life. When I was introduced to Prince, my mom was a single mom raising me, I was an only child. And so I was left by myself a lot because she had to work. And music was such a big part in our family's life in general, just culturally, but that's the one thing that my mother definitely passed on to me was her love of music. And so the fact that I was able to make this connection with him, in a sense, I don't want to say that he raised me, but his music raised me, but it did. And what I found in going to Paisley and finding more about him, he touched so many others. Underneath Paisley, right next to it, there's some tunnels that take you through across underneath the highway. And there's a park right across the street. And so it takes you through into those tunnels. And because they had just recently, believe it or not, Purple Rain is 40 years old. So they had just done a celebration for the album in general. So a lot of Paisley Park was geared towards that, the tour in that sense, amongst other things. But all along the fence, as you're walking along those tunnels, because we wanted to do all of that, why our tour was probably 6 hours long. There was fan art, and I actually have pictures of the fan art and what people wrote about that, because people were able to come and express how Prince's music touched them and all those wonderful things. And the handmade art, the words, how other people had passed, and because of that, his music was able to bridge the gap and bring them back, and just stories. And it was incredible, actually.